Okay, it is go time. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the stream. I'm Chris Petracchi. Or if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and comment down below. Click the notification bell so you can, get a hold of all my streams that come out. And I'm so grateful to be here. And I want to start the stream with a gratitude list. I'm grateful. I've got faith. I've got hope. I've got love. I've got my health. Um, my wife is coming back from a trip overseas, a long trip, some months to be exact. And so she's coming back. That's exciting. I've got this wonderful group of artists that are learning how to draw portraits, learning about art, motivated. We've got a nice, healthy community in Facebook. And we're all learning and getting better and growing. And so that's exciting. I get to communicate to you guys. And that is really exciting. Let me tell you. And good. That looks good. My tech Nick told me things are looking good, so I'm feeling good. So that's my gratitude list. There's more. There's much more. But why don't you guys put down in the comments what you guys are grateful for too? That'd be fun. Zoran, how you doing? Pranav, how you doing? Good to see you guys. So we're gonna do some critiques here, and we're going to do a little side lesson, and it's all going to be good. So maybe we can just kind of jump in here, see how things go. Let me get set up. All right, switch my screen here a little bit. First up is Mr. Springfield, it looks like to me. And so we've got a wonderful portrait here of, I'm not sure who this is. It might be someone you know, or it might be somebody famous. Looks like a nice photo. Looks like a TV star to me. But so what I want to do is look at this really small. And I also want to take the color information out. That's what would happen if I did squinting and comparing. It would take the details out and the color information out, right? Because that's distracting. And I get really a different sense of the lighting. Okay, and so you've given me front lighting, okay? And this gentleman is lit 3/4 front and top, right? So the light's on top, 3/4, so it's down. And then there's a kicker here. There's a light that is illuminating the right side of his head. That's called a rim light or a kicker. And so that's what we got to work on here. Your details look good. The parts look good. Proportions look pretty good. But I want you to consider thinking a little bit more generic. When I squint down, right, or if I look at this guy, the reference, really small, we've got to organize the values, okay, and see the values. We have about three, 4 values on this guy, okay? I don't know if you can see that, but you've got the white value here, a number maybe 3 value here, a 4 value in the shadows, and a 5 value on the hair. So what if we okay, so those are the value areas. This one's white, so we're not gonna, oh, it's not even white, okay. A local value or an average value for the skin. And then we have a shadow value and that hair value. So that shadow value and the hair value are pretty similar. So I would say if we take this value scale and we sample something here, let's take that value. That's about a number 2. The local value for the skin was about a number 4. The shadow value was, let's go down and try to match that. It was about a 7. Okay. And then the real dark was pretty darn dark. So that's your 4 value system. And yours is, this guy is overall middle, right? He's kind of middle. The key light, right, that is lighting up this part of his face, all this light stuff. It's not very bright compared to the rim light, but it's there. It's almost like he's backlit, you know, because he's overall kind of dark in front. That's my impression. Because that kicker, that rim light is so intense. But he's kind of middle light, let's say. Right? So he's kind of in here. That would be like middle light, something like this. It's not super light and it's not super dark, so that's kind of in the middle. And then he does have some dark accents and some light accents. But yours is overall light and from the front, okay? So if you're going to do this guy, right, we want to analyze, sit back and analyze the gesture, right, which is pretty front-facing and neutral. So we don't have much tilt. We're a little bit above him. Okay, so it's kind of a neutral position. And then what's the head type? Let's analyze the head type. It's kind of an oval. It's not real square. It's not like a teardrop. It's not a triangle, but it's kind of this oval. And so I'm just going to go with that. He's got his ears here. Just going to put up some very generic stuff. And that's what I wanted to say was, I want you to draw a generic head. I want you to get used to drawing something that could be every man's head. Okay, it could be anyone's head. And then what you're going to do is bang that thing into shape to become this guy. Okay, so you start with the generic, the general, and then you go to the specific. It's a lot easier to start with something like a ball, box, or a tube, right? And that's something you can, like I started with the oval. It's easy, right? I'm not worried about getting a likeness at all. I'm just thinking about getting some, a 2D form down that's simple and characteristic of this guy, whether the head is a square, a circle, a triangle, a teardrop, or a combination, right, of these things. Get the tilt right. Is he neutral? Is he tilting right, left? Is he rotating right, left, front, back? Okay. Those things really um, the big picture, average angle stuff. And when we go to the details too soon, we get lost. We can't see the forest because we're concentrating on the trees. So I'm building out this thing. Primary, secondary forms, and then the tertiary forms, and then the details. Right? Try not to get too far ahead of myself, because those details can really seduce me, right? If I'm not careful, I want to jump in, and that's when everything can go wrong. Believe me, I've done it many times. So there's his hair. I'm staying loose. But squinting. Okay, I wonder if we can take this guy. And then just do like a little experiment on him. Because when you squint and compare, you're looking for certain things. Noise. I think noise and reduce noise does median. What's this going to do? Yeah. This mimics what the eye does when you squint, right? It gets real simple. And we still have a lot of values seemingly here, but it got simpler. And if we keep dragging this thing to the right, we get even simpler. Now you have kind of a 4 or 5 value system. That's what I want you to concentrate on, is this. Okay, that was 58. Right, we can get even, but something that's too much, maybe something in here. Let's say okay to that. Now we have distinct value zones. We got 1, we got 2, we got 3, and we got 4. That simplifies the value structure and takes it from, 10 or infinite down to about 4 or 5. And that's what I want you to start to draw the impression of something. Okay, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's that simplicity that I would say solves a lot of problems for us artists. There's just so many ways that we can get caught up and get off track. And so what I want to do is just put that local value in. I'm going to put this underneath there. Bump up my opacity, my flow. Okay. So I'm just going to knock in the local value of his skin, right? It's an average light, let's say, without the regard for the light. Okay. And then I can, look at that shadow and I can put that in. So that's after I've done a block in. Right? I've got something that I can start to build form with. And I'm just looking at the shadow shapes, right? That's easy for me. Squinting down, whatever's in the dark is in the dark, and I keep it that way. I try not to mix them. That's where the problem comes in. These mistakes, right? They happen over and over again. It happens to everybody, and you just get better over time. 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and you are we'll start to make progress. You'll start to see special stuff happening, that exciting stuff that you do this for. It'll start to happen more often and with more impact. Hey, Mamika, welcome. Thanks for being here. How's everything over in Greece? Okay, you see how we've got 3 tones right now? We've got the value number 1, we've got the value number 4, we have the value number 7, and then I'm going to put on some dark for the hair. They're just these value shapes. And you can think of them as whatever helps you. Like this looks like a bird to me, right? There's a bird here, like a hawk flying, right? His hair looks like that to me, right? There's this really cool wing out there. So I like to play that game, because it helps me whatever I need to see to make sense of what it is I'm looking at. So I'm just when I squint, all that left side of the hair just goes into dark. And maybe this is kind of really foreign to you to think about drawing like this. And it probably is because it's not what we're taught in school, like how to see. Put a little bit down here just to frame his face a little bit. Okay. And especially if I put on the background this value here like that, that'll hold that. That'll make that side of the face look illuminated. So I want you to think about doing something like that rather than doing details and maybe becoming too dependent on your lines. I want you to think more about creating believable, simple forms, very simple forms, right? And then if you have time, you can start to make it look more and more like this person with the proportion, right? The distance between the eyes and the nose, the skin texture, right? How wide is the nose? How narrow? Bone structure or not, right? And I think you'll get more bang for your buck doing it this way, but it will take a little bit of time understanding the planes of the face. And something about big form lighting, right? So this is this right here is big form lighting. You can see it's very generic. It's the big forms. There's no details, no eyelashes, pupils, teeth, right? It's just very simple. And but it looks solid, right? It looks like there's a 3D thing here. It's the impression of it. And it's easy to kind of bang that into shape. Instead of getting stuck into the details and it's too late, right? You can kind of just you can fix this easy. This is what I'm trying to say. Just playing with these simple ideas. And it is form, it is light. And it's the simplest way I can think to get there. And so you have to be kind of willing to work with values and massing in tone. There was something here that I think maybe something like this. Starting to draw and think about this kind of thing. You see how simple it is? And you can see what makes it up. What comprises this thing? It's like the big oval, you know, with this thing. You got a big oval here. And then that's turned into a sphere. And you have this, a triangle, right? And that's, we see a side plane on that. And then the front, it has a top and kind of not a bottom, but a side. So really big stuff like that, big form modeling that you can find the front, sides, and tops with. And start to describe, what that is. This is a tube. Don't think sternocleidomastoid, trapezius, sternal notch, clavicle. Don't think those Latin terms. Think of what is this simple form and how does this form connect, to the next form? How does that thing connect to this thing? And what is built on top of it? Practice this stuff. Practice the planes of the face. In my course, I cover this ad infinitum, ad nauseum, about the planes and the rhythms. And you'll get more believable drawings that way. And you can get a likeness that way too. So that's kind of my critique for you. He's got a little bit of a tilt. He's got the lighting that makes him he's got shadows right on the front of his face. And that might be an area that is a little scary to get into, right? So you've got to squint and compare and really just do what I did. Look at your value scale. You have to know your value scale, or you're not going to be able to do this, or it will be an experiment every time and it'll be painful, right? So just get to know that, and then it'll be easy and easier as you go, right? And he's got a little Rembrandt lighting there. Let me see, put a little shadow. That's Rembrandt lighting. 3/4 top with a triangle on his cheek. You can see that. I think you can see that. The triangle right there. That's Rembrandt lighting. Shadow under the nose connects with that shadow from the cheek. All right. And the light is coming quarter, down like that. Good stuff. All right. But that is a nice effort. Like I said, I love the details. I love the proportions, and that look you got in his eyes is very good. I can see that there's a person there, and that's another one of the things that the catch light that you put, those reflections, that's called a catch light, and it does signal to me that there's a live soul here in this person, in this drawing. Okay, let's move on to Mr. Sampico. What's happening? All right, Sampico was one of my students. He studied with me privately. And is he here tonight? Jairo Miguel Camacho Reyes is here. Greetings from Spain. Cool. Den, how you doing, Den? All right. MG, what up? Philip Shattuck. I want to shout out to Shattuck. Good. He's grateful. Yeah. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you're grateful for, because I started the stream out with a gratitude list. And I want to hear what you're grateful for, because there is a lot to be grateful for in the midst of the chaos. Yeah, Nick is here. What's up, Nick? Okay. So I didn't see Sampicos here, but nevertheless. All right. This looks really good. This looks like vine charcoal. The photos, yeah, it's okay. It's all right. Mostly, I would say we've got a little, everything looks good. The values look good, I think. That's the best part, are the values. And there's some connection, a little bit of connection, just to get, now I'm going to nitpick, okay, because that's what we're here for, but to get the likeness, I'm seeing some structure here, right? From the eye socket, the nose protrudes out. And then there's this overlap, right, from the philtrum into the upper lip, right? And there's an overlap that's in front and this cheek is behind, right? So we want to say that as well. Like we want to express that as best we can. And so that's, again, knowing your planes and constructing this before you go to the values. Maybe that would be good. So that you can get the feeling that the eye, that eye socket is deep and recessed. And then the nose is in front of that. So the sense of overlaps, right? The overlap is not as clear as it could be. I'm going to pull this over the top, right? It's a literal eyeball that's in there. That looks pretty funny, huh? The nose, let's see, it's got a front, a bottom. I'm kind of constructing the bottom right there. You can see that on her, right? It has a bottom. It's very subtle. There's a top, a side, super subtle stuff. So you need to know the planes of the face and then put them in if you need them, and according to the lighting. And you're not going to find every plane shown in every photo. It's just not possible. But certain lighting conditions will light up certain of the planes and put those, put in what helps explain your subject the best. Copy that shadow shape. Let me see here. So I've got something like that, knock this back a little bit. Check. So Dan says she's grateful about your freedom, yeah, and faith. being happy for the first time in many years. Oh, that is wonderful. So glad to hear that. Man, being happy, that doesn't happen a lot, right? Life is hard. And then there's moments of happiness, you know. I'm not wired like one of those really high energy, bubbly, happy people. I wish I was, but I have moments, and I guess the down times make those moments special. So I'm just trying to find out, I'm looking for this keystone here, and I know I can't see it in the reference. This is tough reference, but I want to put it in there as I go through this. Just it's good habit to do it, and then I can knock it back, if I don't need these construction lights. I'll take them out, but at least I'm making sense so that when I do the shadowing, it makes sense. I'm describing form and not just putting darks and lights for the sake of shading. Okay, I'm not shading. I'm rendering. I just want to push that eyebrow up a little bit. Keep it simple shape, and then think about the eye socket. Right. It's definitely a skeleton in there, and then the eyeball fits inside there. And you want to line these things up, right, from tear duct to tear duct and laterally. So in the interior medial side, the lateral side of the eye, and make sure it's like that on both sides. And that way, you can get this angle. And I think you missed that a little bit. And then the lips are kind of, you know, they've got a front and two sides, almost like bird wings. And on the far side, it's eclipsed by the lower lip that comes out from the upper lip. See that? And then makes its way around. So you can start with very straight structural kind of block and stuff. And you get your overlaps really clear that way. And then you can smooth things out to make it more feminine, you know. Like here's the center line. And then there's the opening of her mouth right there. And then that disappears behind the lower lip. Okay. And then the chin, even see this line here. Let me just, all these little overlaps. So from lower lip and then the chin, right? That's in front of this. Okay. So you have the Y principle. You see that letter Y? It's got the chin and the cheek. Come on. Is that like that? Okay. Right. It's a letter Y, basically. Those are the overlaps. The overlaps, right? The little overlaps that happen tell the story. Just a little adjustment, and it's so powerful. So it's not perspective, and yet it's a way to signal depth without linear perspective. Okay, so that makes sense of that shadow right there because that's one form wrapping around the lower lip and the chin as it's turning away from us, going this way. It's going away, right? It's getting a little darker, and then behind it is the cheek that's in shadow, right? Something like that. Just analyze the simple forms and their direction in space and how they connect. So, mm, drawing is basically capturing the action, number one. Two, describing the form, plus its direction in space. Or you could say its position, the position. Okay. That's what drawing is. If you can do those simple things, you're drawing. Okay. But it takes a little time, right? How do you describe the form and its direction in space? Well, that's not obvious. Okay. Especially if you're learning how to draw, it's not obvious because we get stuck with the surface details and we don't know how to analyze things deeper for that information. Um, but drawing over the form is describing form. Its direction in space has to do with the corners that you show and the tilts of those corners. So that's a little abstract, and we'll get into that later. Well, let me see. I just wanted to get this eye going for you. Right? This is a stock move. Just do this, do that, right? Upper lid, lower lid, two of them, you know, practice that move and uh, it'll become second nature and you'll be so happy, right? You'll just be doing eyes like nobody. Then you can put the lashes, bling, 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 right? But it kind of build up to that. Um, I would practice when you do your eye studies, try to make sense of where the overlaps are, what the forms are doing, what basic forms make up this eye, right? There's a ball, and then there's these two thin bands that are pulled over the top of it. And there's the tear duct. And you can see the top of the eyelid and the underside, right? There's the top, and then here's the underside. And so I'm gonna, draw that first, make it clear, and then I'll come in and put my beautiful paint over it. And that's what I'm trying to do, set myself up so that I can put my beautiful value shapes and paint and rendering and lighting and modeling a form and all that beautiful stuff that you can see in this photo reference of this lady. I mean, it's obviously right, there's some beauty there that you want to capture. Um, and so then I would take that construction stuff out. Like, this I can modify, right? Some of these construction. Ooh, it's doing something not what I want to do. Right, I can erase those constructions lines out because I don't want you to know how I did it, right? Just draw the block in very soft. Okay. And then you can continue shadowing and going to town with it over kind of a solid block in, you know. You can do your block in with values, right? You could do a value block in, massing in shapes, or you could do it line like this and then fill in the values. And that's probably the simpler way to do it because doing your value shapes block in at the beginning and doing proportion and form and everything. That's like an advanced move. Okay. That's black belt jujitsu. Okay. Um, so it's okay to kind of do a map like this, like a shadow map, and account for everything in terms of, the idea. So all this is kind of like the idea of this woman's face. Okay, it's the concept. And then when you add value, it's the illusion of that thing, you know. And it would come together, give it enough time, just mapping things out slowly. It's just the block in, and I don't want to, I don't want to rush it too much. Um, you can see how her hair merges with the background, right? Some of the edges get lost and then you find them again. Okay, good. But Sampicos, what you did really good here was your values. Like, I'm very impressed with the value that you got going here, and the painting aspect, the rendering aspect of it is beautiful. The material indication, of that soft sclera in her eye, the smooth, glossy look, you got that. You nailed that. So the lips, nose, everything's beautiful. It's just maybe the setup, staying in the block in a little bit longer and making sure things are kind of lined up, like this, 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 right? Those would be more or less parallel. And I think you've got your mouth going like this, and then the eyes kind of going like that, right? So this is okay, but then this kind of goes out of whack. So if you have stuff like this, it's not going to look like a likeness, and it's going to not look as believable, right? So you've got to line those things up, keep it consistent. So that's the block-in part. That's the concept part. That's the lining up things along the center line, right? You want to have that center line, the gaze, and then vertically lining up where the features go. And then once you've got that, you have to figure out where they are laterally. How far wide do they go, right? That's a question. This is still all just measuring and stuff. It's not really drawing anything too much yet. Okay. So that one's nice, though. The technique of handling this stuff is getting better. Okay. So keep working away at it. Thanks for submitting that. That's awesome. I wanted to take a little break, maybe go into where are we here? I had something I wanted to talk about. So let me get a little organized here and do that. So last time we talked about the 5-hour rule. We talked about how to get better, right? And we had this 5-hour rule. We talked about Benjamin Franklin and all that stuff. I don't know. And so just a little recap on that. There were 4 main points that we got that sort of turbocharged our learning in this 5-hour rule. And there were 4 points, and the last one was kind of like set aside time for learning. And so you're doing experiments, um, and you're analyzing photo reference and not copying things, but you're borrowing things, you're stealing. So one of the things was, taking time for learning, and during that time, you're learning kind of how to steal, all right? Like how to borrow like an artist would, how to do it so that you could riff on something and make it your own. And then we talked about the idea of this is a new a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that we have to get used to. We have to um, change our mind, right, and change our life. So we don't just need just a new lifestyle, though. We need one that's a creative lifestyle. And so, you know, want it to be creative. How do we do that? All right. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about. How. And kind of how do we foster that? And I want to give you some tips on that. Um, we talked about being creative too. And from there, I don't know if you remember, we talked about we needed an oasis of time and space. We needed some kind of way to bracket reality out. We needed to be independent, right? Um, some autonomy from survival, right? From the crush of life, the demands of life, the things that we have to do if we're involved in our job or two jobs or we have families and stuff. These are our kind of responsibilities, right? We can't just shirk them off. And so we want to find a way to do that in the midst of life. Um, and so this kind of oasis of time and space, it's that oasis because it's really a flow state. Okay. It is a flow. It's the zone. Okay. Many athletes, musicians, thinkers get into this. Michael Jordan practicing all the time, bouncing the ball everywhere it goes. Yngwie Malmsteen, the guitar player, taking the guitar on the bus to school in high school and playing the guitar on the bus. Can you imagine doing that? These people are really in the flow all the time. They're thinking, they're analyzing, they're solving problems, right? And then each one is a stepping stone to the next plateau. And so how do we cultivate our creative lifestyle in the midst of this busy crush of life? And I mentioned stealing like an artist and last time, but this time we want to talk about stealing time. Okay, so what could you steal from in your life, right? That would give you time back, because time is the one thing that you can't get back. Once it's gone, it's gone. Let me look in the chat. What would you guys stop doing in order to build up this reservoir of time, like this oasis of time? I can think of some things, right, that I do, but maybe you could stop playing video games, right, for 3 hours. You could stop watching the news. That's just, you can't even know what's true anymore, right? It's 24-hour news cycle. It's exhausting. You could stop watching TV drama stuff, even movies. Stop looking at Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff that's cool. It's very cool, but it's stealing your time and you want to steal it back. What else do you do that wastes time? Um, okay, I think that's probably plenty, right? We all do this stuff. And then what you want to do is if you can't create, like an hour and a half of time, just think about, you know, 3 minutes to 5 minutes or even 10 minutes of just sketching, right? There's a rule. It's the 10,000 hour rule to where um, you get to mastery, right? 10K equals about 10 years, right? But you can cut that down, right? You can take that mountain and chop it down to maybe, 6 to 7 years by doing this, stealing time from these things that are stealing time from you, creative time, and then sketching whenever you can. And that adds up, 15 minutes a day. So if you did, 3 minutes 5 times a day, or 5 minutes 3 times a day, that's 15 minutes per day. And if you did that every day, you're starting to build up some time there, right? Over the weeks and months and years. Um, so it depends on your, level of dedication and your ability to kind of organize your time, right? And stay disciplined. Um, so another thing that can help with this, right? And I is learning to make this leap in your mindset, right? Is learning how to see like an artist and think like an artist. See and think like an artist. I cover this in my course, Mastering the Art of the Portrait, a lot. Okay. So I go in deep there. But that's one thing you can do that's key. And another thing you can do is become curious, right? Curiosity. How do you spell it? Curiosity. Start to ask questions about life around you. Okay. And the more questions that you ask, the more questions you may have, but the more answers you may also get, right? But it just gets deeper and deeper. I found that, when I thought I knew everything about figure drawing, that I didn't. And that was a little bit embarrassing when I learned that. A teacher kind of confronted me with that. In class, that's what class is for. They were showing me what my faults were. And I was just like, a little bit angry at the time. But then I realized that it showed me a gift. The gift was that there was no there was no ceiling, right? I was thinking I hit the ceiling about figure drawing, I knew everything, but there was no ceiling. I could go as high as I wanted, right? There was no ceiling because I kept asking questions, then I kept finding, oh, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. Kept finding answers, but the more answers I had, I found there were more things I didn't know, right? So the humble person knows that they don't know, right? The arrogant person thinks they know everything. I was arrogant. So, but this thing about there's no ceiling, that was like super exciting to me. I was like, I can do this forever, as much as God allows me to live on this earth. I can do this till I'm an old man. And I felt excited about that. And it's that curiosity, right? Curiosity turns into um, a kind of a love and a lust for life. right? It's always giving you energy. And so it makes, if you're asking, what's this? What makes this tick? Right? It never ends. And so that brings you to the next big breakthrough, really, is that if you stick with this, right, and you build out from a life like that, you keep practicing that, you're going to find that you develop a purpose in your life. This is where you want to get. This is where we all want to get. And if you have a purpose in your life, right, life kind of like a pathway emerges in front of you, right? That purpose is your pathway for your whole life. And you can navigate your way through life with this, because a purpose is buoyancy, right? You won't sink. When you have that, you have an additional kind of powerful motive for being in the world and fulfilling one of our basic human needs, right? The first great need is being loved. The second one is being accepted. And the third one is to matter and to be effective, right? In other people's lives. It doesn't matter what it is, really, but just serving others. Um, One of the great spiritual traditions says there's no greater love than for one to lay down his or her life for another. Well, you don't have to do that to death, right? You can lay your life down for 5 minutes by helping someone carry their groceries or do a math problem or just listen, right? That's an act of kind of like a death, a mini death, because you have to put your own agenda aside, and that takes work. And listening to someone is really, that's a loving thing to do. M. Scott Peck, in the book The Road Less Traveled, said that listening was an act of love because it took work to put oneself aside for the spiritual benefit of another. And that was so simple and so profound. And it was like, oh, I didn't have to break my back or, say that I would die for someone. It's these little things. Okay. So, you could 5 minutes, 20 minutes, half a day, right? Those little ways of laying your life down for someone. And those count and those matter. And as you do this, right, you start to get curious. You ask questions. You cut out time and draw a little bit. As you do that, you get better at it, right? And then it gets better and bigger, and it just grows in a positive way. And that is a way of affecting people. There's people around you, or you're there and your life is growing, and there's other people here and they're being affected by your life too, right? There's some people out here, they haven't been affected by your life, but maybe they will, and you can affect them in a positive direction, positive dimension. And that is your purpose. That is the meaning of life, really. Um, the more you do, the better you get. The better you get, the greater the effect on others. And that's what I want to be. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to be a part of. And that it's just built in, it seems, into the universe, this whole thing of meaning and purpose. It's one of our greatest needs, and I want to encourage you guys to develop that. Okay, let's get back to the crit here. Let me check the comments and see what you guys are saying. No TV at all. Okay. He's in an isolated space. Okay, cool. So you've got built-in attention. Worrying too much, Drew says, without taking action. Yeah, right. The paralysis of analysis. being ruminating. Man, I'm so guilty of that. That's a good one. And the antidote to that is sometimes just to moving, start moving, um, get out for a walk, start the pencil moving, dance, whatever, and break that because that can be a real, yeah, a real stopper. Yeah, thank you, Mika. Thank you for being here. Um, I'm just trying to share with you guys what I've learned in my life. I've been through many hard obstacles, and so I've done a lot of reading. I've done a lot of soul searching, and I've gone to the bottom of myself, and you know, I didn't die, and I'm still here. And so there's a lot of good that can come out of these things. They don't feel good in the moment, but given time, over time, they can all be worked for your good. Just hang in there. Okay, so let's look at this lovely portrait by Christie. Um, charcoal pencil, willow charcoal. Yeah, looks great. Love it. Um, super nice. Nice rendering. Nice sense of lighting. Details look good. I'm thinking you got the eyes really lined up well with the nose. And then the mouth goes slightly off, right? So you've got just a little bit of an alignment problem. See that? You want things to be parallel. So just check that, right? That's an easy fix. Easy fix. Let's just do that and see what results from that. So I'm going to select this. Select. I can find a nice route through here to select. Command J, copy, and transform. And just slightly do that. Okay, so that could help it, you know. And that, look at the way you did that nose. It looks just so like a real nose. It's got a core shadow. It's got reflection. It's got bounce light. It's got occlusion shadow. All that stuff in concert and in context. It's connected to the cheek. It's connected to the philtrum in the upper lip. It's connected to the keystone, the glabella, and the eye socket. So everything's connected. Everything is making sense, and it's resulting, culminating in a really strong portrait that looks like a person. And that's no easy thing, right? That's what we all kind of want to have happen. And it's can be elusive, sometimes. Fixing this a little bit. But yeah, I would say this one is a success and you can move on to the next one because it'd be a little bit hard to fix the alignment of the mouth. And because it's hard to erase once you've dug in and gone really dark with some of that stuff. So I would just maybe move on and learn from that. As these teeth go into the mouth, you can darken them up a little bit. There's a gradation, right? That'll set them back just a little bit. Give it some dimension. Something like that. So this one's great. Love it. Like it a lot. And let's just move on. Okay. Cool. Thank you, Christy. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Mimika. Let me get a drink of water. Okay. Anxiety. What does that mean? That's the emotion. It's in charcoal. Wow. love this handling, the rendering, the lighting, the forms look beautiful. Uh, it's like better than the photo kind of thing, because the way to me, the lighting, because you've pushed the medium into the dark darks, the blacks, and you've let the paper be white or added a little bit. It's just so expressive. It's so emotional, right? This medium, this charcoal is like cinema, it's like a dramatic poem or a great song. It can really go there, right? For us, you know, we don't go there with words or with film, but we go there with shapes, values, and edges, and we tell a story like that. And it's really fun to do. Uh, I wanted to just, if I could, I would just come into this little area here and maybe lighten it up a little bit. So you've got this value here, you know, maybe I would lighten it up and see, because I don't see that much darkness there, but I do see it where the nose meets the eye socket, right? Here, that's where I see the dark accent. Bing. So you've got it here, but you didn't, you had it a little bit too far down, causing me to look in there. Like it looked a little, maybe it didn't, the feminine of her, the softness, because there was this bump in there. Do you know what I mean? Like, because there's value, change in there, and we know that different value, different plane, or a change in value equals a change in the plane and therefore the form. So we have like this, and then there's a bump here, and then there's something here, and then too much stuff in there. And she's a young, beautiful girl. So, the more line put in, the more planes that you put in real hard, it's like you add, it's like adding 7 years to someone, each wrinkle that you put in. Okay, so you want to be careful with the beautiful girls to keep things a little bit less edgy and less noisy. Okay, maybe I could say it like that. And so just, you know, backing off a little bit on that so that we focus on the eyes. Because before I was getting caught in here by the noisy, and now we see the eyes just beautiful, both sides, equal. I don't know. That's like all I would kind of say. I would think about the transition of the hair up here just a little bit. That shape right there. She has a shape that's, like going like that. So maybe just getting, because she looks like she's losing a little hair there. Just come in a little bit. That's an easy fix, right? So it's the shape of the hair and the shape of the face get you a likeness, right? If you nail those, that they don't get you all the way there, but they really do a lot for us. Shape of the hair match, shape of the face, right? Because if you shave your head and you go home, your family members, your friends, they're not going to recognize you. They're going to be a little bit shocked, right? So that's how much we can sort of judge the shape of the hair factors into how people see us, you know, and it registers that it's us. Yeah, so that, just a little bit there. And otherwise, I think it's wow. This one's you fixed all your problems. It's many of your problems that before in your previous portraits. This one is showing your hard work that you put in, and it's paying off, right? You should be really proud of yourself for this thing. This is not easy. Pretty girls are not easy because they don't have edges and planes and things that we can draw. There's a lot of stuff that isn't there, and we have to kind of edit, right? And it still has to look solid. So, not easy. Not easy, but you did it. Let's see what happened here. Just quiet down little things where you can so that we look at the drama in her eyes and expression on her face, right? We want everything else to be secondary to that. But I think it's great. It holds up really well, small. I like the gradation you put in the background and the texture and stuff like that. It's cool. The eyes, especially, where you left us the most contrast and that glossy, wet look of her sclera, right? The furrow, her brow, so nicely done. I want to connect. I want to connect this a little bit here. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I'm just feeling maybe not. I don't know. Transition is a little bit. I want to play it down just a little bit. Okay. So there we go. And then you can flip it too. Flip it. Check it. Flipping is going to allow you to see it. Judge angles, verticals and horizontals with a new eye. You can see the relationships different. Okay. You get the A on this one. Bing. All right. Mimika, great job. So proud of you. The hair looks great too. Yeah, put that in the portfolio. Send it to mom. Okay. Jerry Garcia. Jerry. Who's this? Who did this? I don't know. Put your name on it. Please let me know. Um, let's see. We'll do this one and that'll be it for tonight. Yeah, really like it. Oh, Maggie G, what up, G? Nice. Maggie really went for it, man. This is a very strong piece. Beautiful. Just like Mamika, you pushed this medium to its limits, right? The blacks. You went places where people fear to tread. You just went black. You went middle. You went light, and it uh, just does so much, right? It's a very powerful medium because of the value you can get out of it, right? It's very close to painting. Kind of want to see just in the eyes. Maybe this is just a reflection or something in the reproduction, but just going darker right there so that the focus doesn't get lost, right? And a little bit of this thicker here and thinner as the lid turns over, right? We're kind of getting some bone right in here. This is like bone. And that's going over in front of the pupil and iris there. And then here we can see part of the lid and part of the skin. And then I'd thicken up this a little bit. right? Just get the shape, the proportion, and the edge. And then the edge, right? It's a little bit broken edge because it's hair. So that tends to be not soft, but not hard. It's kind of a broken, right? So these are just refinements now that I'm doing. These are tweaks that we can take everything further always, right? So I'm just looking at it and saying, okay, in here I squint and it's all dark mostly, and it's where I want the focus. So I want this to be, perhaps to have more contrast than anywhere else. Um, just thinking about light wrapping around, the light actually being denied on the far side of the eye socket, right? No light can really reach there. So I'm going to describe the form that way, which is that um, what's the bone there? The eye socket, the brow bone. Okay. So just little kind of adjustments that you can do because these are not major architectural, structural. These are just you can always your drawing is never ruined if you can go darker. You know, just go darker and fix things, right? Until you can't go darker anymore, or until you make a hole in the paper, right? Going light once you've gone dark, that's another problem. That's harder to fix. But you can always go darker. See there, just a little bit of the value describing form a little bit and bringing some contrast in. And it's magic. Let's see what else. Treating the hair, I don't know if you feel you have a hard time with hair or hair is pretty easy for you, you know. Treating hair like any form is the key, right? And I think you probably got that. It's just like that from camera right, here comes the light, and it sort of reveals the beard. And then as the beard turns away, it gets a gradation, right, into the shadow. And so just treating it like any other form and obeying the laws and the rules of light and shadow and um, what makes something, those modeling factors that make something look 3D, and then putting texture. So the underneath is this form that's lit and solid, and then the material is just whatever it is. And in this case, it's hair. In some other cases, it's rubber. It's either reflective or very matte, right? Those are the kind of two main distinctions. And just draw it kind of accordingly. Hair is not too reflective. I mean, it can have a sheen, and it is a little oily, but with a beard, it's pretty coarse. It's not fine usually. So it's a rough texture. And so you can light it from light to dark. There's a core shadow, which you put in there, and there might be some reflected light and that kind of stuff. That's all, right? So it's not that hard. And then you put details to your delight, whatever you want, more or less. and just push the sides back as it curves around that upper lip. See, and that's it. Looks great. All I did was tweak it a little bit and then adjust some edges here and there. And this one you can put in the portfolio. You can be real proud of this one, Maggie. I think so. Right? Are you proud? Let me hear you say it. Okay, you guys. What a great session we had. That was really fun. Thanks so much for coming by, and it's my pleasure to be here. If you're new here, just like and subscribe to the channel. That really helps me. If you want to support the channel, there's a link in the description through PayPal. That would be greatly appreciated too, because it's my work and it's what I love to do, and I want to help people. And if you give back in love, that would enlarge my heart too. So do you guys got any questions or anything? Let me just check the chat. And Maggie, she is proud, she's happy, and I'm happy for you too. Super duper lecture. Right on, Zoran. Yeah. Let me know in the chat if you liked that, the stuff about the creative life and getting drawing time in and how to foster a creative life. Let me know if that was helpful for you, because I feel those things are too. Just drawing is great, but then also connecting that to our life, how to connect it to our life, and how to connect it to these higher themes in our life, that bring happiness to others, let's say, as they see your work, it makes them smile or think, right? Or as you teach people, right, they benefit from that. And so that's cool. All right, no questions, you guys, no problem. Mimika, you bet. You're welcome. Thanks for being here. Come back next week and we'll do it again. Okay. I'll talk to you guys. I'm going to wait for my wife coming home tomorrow. Woo. All right. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.